Justice, no peace!
And I thank the organisers for the invite to the Sheku Bayoh campaign today. Before I start speaking about the campaign, just a few words, very little about reform. I come from a tradition, as I know many people in this room have done over many, many years. And many years ago, whether in the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s, that when we dealt with the far right, we united as a movement to smash them off our streets. And it's not going to come, we don't defeat reform, we don't defeat the Nazis, we don't defeat the far right from talking shops or having big convoluted conferences held somewhere. We know exactly as a movement what we need to do. And one of the things that was said there about a grudge, we also as a movement, as the left, need to unite, put our differences aside and come together if we are going to defeat the reform and the regards to the Sheku Bayoh campaign, today is the 10th anniversary when Sheku Bayoh met his death after being restrained by up to 6 police officers. Sheku was unarmed. He was within 45 seconds of the police arriving. He was face down on the ground, having been pepper sprayed, CS sprayed, backed into the head and body, and he was handcuffed and he was ankle cuffed and leg restraints were applied. His body by the end was covered by up to 24 separate cuts, bruises, lacerations, a fractured rib. And in less than 4 minutes, Sheku had lost consciousness as he struggled for his last breath. For the Bayoh family, this was not a death in police custody as everybody describes it, but it was a suspected police killing. His loved ones were forced to set up a campaign, and over 1 decade it has become clear to the family that the police investigation reviews commissioners, so both the independent and the Crown Office, has operated an unholy trinity of dishonesty, of racism, of incompetence, and betraying the words justice. This public inquiry that's taken place over the course of the last 3 years or so is testament to a family who have refused to allow the system to smear and to negate Sheku's right to life. The treatment was compounded by the attacks from the Scottish Police Federation, who remain in a childlike denial about the existence of racism in Scotland today and in policing. The Crown Office, who was supposed to investigate the death of Sheku Bayoh, engaged in a deliberate and cynical attempt to escape scrutiny by refusing to allow the public inquiry over the last few months to examine and investigate why the Crown Office did not prosecute the police officers despite the massive existence of evidence. It cannot be right in 2025 that the Crown Office, the most powerful institution in our country, is tasked with protecting us from our guardians of law and order, yet when those guardians of law and order breach the law, break the law, kill us, they are unaccountable. And then the institution that's supposed to investigate them are also found to be unaccountable, not just in Scotland, but also in England, also in Wales, also in Northern Ireland. And now we have the Police Federation, in partnership with Police Scotland, set on a path of destruction for this public inquiry. Let me be clear, this cannot be allowed to happen. The reason they now attack the inquiry is that they claim the judge is biased. They claim that because their own racist practices, their corruption stands exposed by the inquiry, and they know that the inquiry is sabotaged. Then in Scotland, family after family will continue to be denied justice. And we have seen that over the years. We've seen that in the case of Katie Allen, a young woman who took her own life in Pullman. We've seen that in the case of William Lindsay, a 16-year-old boy who took his own life in Pullman just within 72 hours of arriving in Pullman. We've seen that in the case of Emma Colwell, a woman who was murdered some 20 years ago, and that the killer and rapist was given the green light to carry out 22 further rapes until the campaign we fought took some 20 years to deliver justice, and now there's another public inquiry to take place in regards to that. Surjit Singh Chokha, that took, 16 years for a family campaign to get justice, but never any accountability, because we were denied at that stage a public inquiry. The family were denied a public inquiry, and this public inquiry came about because the family refused to compromise on that principle that they wanted an inquiry to take place in public where the institutions would be held to account. So, the principle is simple. It's not changed. It hasn't changed. In every family campaign, there can be no justice for families if there is no truth. And in Scotland, as for the Scottish Police Federation, they are an archaic organisation. I'm sure we probably got one because they like to carry out so-called surveillance, as we found out during the course of the inquiry. Surveillance of the family, surveillance of my belt, illegal information kept on myself as the family's lawyer. And it's an archaic organisation that is blind to racism, it's blind to sexism, it's blind to misogyny. And for the Bayoh family, the Federation are the biggest gang in town. They are out of control, they are arrogant, they are unaccountable, but they are also stupid. They are also stupid. So anyone here taking notes for the Federation, take that back to your leadership. They are also stupid and predictable, and we are coming for you. The same thing is holding you up. It's time that the people of this country realise how they operate in the shadows. How many millions will they spend to defend those who stand accused of breaking their oath to preserve law and order? Whilst the police in the last few weeks have cried crocodile tears at the cost of a public inquiry that cost £27 million. I agree. If you'd done your bloody job in the first place, it wouldn't have cost £27 million. All the family ever wanted, were the police officers. Of course they have a presumption of innocence, but the same way as any other member of the public, within 24 hours, would have been taken from that spot if they had been found surrounding a man lying dead on the street, covered with cuts and bruises. They would have been taken to a police station, not put in a police station in a room together, given Kentucky Fried Chicken, giving cups of tea, sat in a room, allowed to talk to each other for 8 hours. No, they would have been separated in the cells and they would have been appearing at sheriff courts within 24 hours. That's the position that the family always wanted. So they didn't need to spend £27 million in a public inquiry. But the question I ask Police Scotland is, when we put in a freedom of information request to the Chief Constable, we said, how much did your lawyers cost? That army of lawyers that sit in that public inquiry, how much did they cost? They have cost now in the region of £20 million. £20 million. And they want to spend a few more million. So they now want to stop the inquiry, and all that can mean is potentially to start the inquiry again. It's a gravy train for them. So before they have the audacity to attack this family for standing up for the rights of Sheku Bayoh and standing up for the rights of every single member of the public in this country, they've not asked for anything special. They've simply asked for the word justice. It's not a privilege. Shouldn't be a privilege for police officers. So if the message from the family on the 10th of anniversary is this, that Sheku Bayoh's anniversary and Sheku Bayoh's campaign should not be in vain. The Scottish Police Federation is not fit for purpose. The family are deeply grateful. And it's not often I get to say that in this country over 25 years of being a lawyer. The family are deeply grateful to Lord Bracadale, who has acted with compassion, acted with empathy. That's all we ever want a judge to do in this country. And his team, they want to thank him for a robust and an impartial inquiry. But they now directly appeal to the Crown Office, to the Chief Constable, to fulfil the promises made by successive Lord Advocates, successive Solicitor Generals, successive Chief Constables, that they support the public inquiry. But meanwhile, in the shadows, they try to scupper the public inquiry. They have a duty to deliver the whole truth and not to be complicit in the final betrayal of justice. For Sheku's loved ones over the public inquiry, it has not been an easy process. The family have sat in silent dignity. They have been filled with rage and torment, watching officer after officer graphically explain and demonstrate their display, their use of weapons on Sheku. Sadly, not one of those restraining officers turned around when they gave their evidence and took the opportunity to turn to Sheku's mother, to turn to Sheku's sisters, turn to Sheku's other family members who were watching, whether in the courtroom or outside the courtroom, and to offer the family and express their condolences. Never mind remorse for their actions on the 3rd of May 2015. Officers spoke of their terror on meeting Sheku, one of the biggest men that they had ever seen. Sheku was only 5'10". He weighed 12 stone 10 pounds. It took us months to find out that the first 2 police officers who attended were 6 foot 4 inches each and weighed somewhere between 19 stones and 24 stones. And 6 officers, up to 6 officers, meant half a ton. You watched everyone in the world watch George Floyd being murdered by that police officer. That was 1 police officer. Imagine half a ton of weight on your body. And that's what Sheku was subjected to. The police officers spoke of their fears of not returning home to their families as Sheku's mother sat there watching them give evidence. Sheku's mother had no concern for the terror her unarmed son felt and must have felt, struggling to breathe as up to 6 officers held him down, keeping his body shackled, as Kadi said, like a slave, as his life dripped away, ebbed away. Some of the officers acted as though they were colourblind, of course. They don't see colour. But Sheku's family firmly believe that his skin colour, Sheku's skin colour, was treated as a weapon, as he met lethal, overwhelming, and disproportionate force. Sheku was a loving partner to Colette. He was a loving brother. He was a loving father to 2 young boys. And he was a son. Yet over 10 years later, his loved ones have seen him dehumanized, seen him smeared, seen him criminalized, seen him stereotyped as every single black man in this country who has been killed by the police is subjected to, stripped of his right to life. Sheku's loved ones, after many years of struggle, however, feel vindicated. They are grateful to the trade union movement. They are grateful to the anti-racist movement, without whose solidarity they could not have kept going. Their family need our trade union movement now more than ever. On the 12th of June, on the 13th of June, a hearing will take place where Lord Brackadale will ask for submissions from each party to say, why? Why is he not impartial? Say it in public. Don't say it with your whispering campaigns. Don't do it with your smears in the press. If you have the courage, if you have the audacity, come and stand and say it in public and let the family see how you say it and say why you believe this public inquiry should be stopped. So that we want to see you there. We need the public support outside and inside the courtroom. The family have, for 10 years exactly, fought for the truth, despite the many lies and betrayal. But I say this to conclude before Kadi comes on. The police, the Crown Office, the Federation and the Perk should know this, that Sheku's family will not rest until there is justice. Yes. The public inquiry is a start, but the bottom line is to see those police officers and those who are guilty of criminal behaviour stand trial. That's what we want. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kadi Johnson, and it's an honor to stand before you today as we gather in solidarity on this May Day. Today, we celebrate the strength of the people, the courage of our communities, and the importance of justice. But I'm also here to speak about the life and the tragic death of my dear brother Sheku Bayoh. Many of you here today may already know the heart-wrenching story of Sheku Bayoh, as our lawyer Anwar has just told you. A young man, a father, a beloved son, a friend who was taken from us far too soon. And exactly 10 years today, when I heard the devastating news of the death of my brother, me and my family's life changed forever. As I speak to you, my heart is heavy with grief, but also filled with gratitude. Grief for my brother that I lost, a father, a son, and a friend, and gratitude for the love and support that you, the trade union, have shown me and my family over the past 10 years. On the 3rd of May 2015, Sheku was taken from us in the most brutal and senseless way. He was restrained by police officers, and when we should have been able to count on the system to protect him, he was instead subject to violence and cruelty. Since then, my family and I have been fighting not just for justice for Sheku, but for the truth to come out, for the system to be held accountable, and for change to happen so that no other family will endure the same pain and heartbreak that we are going through. The impact of losing Sheku has been unimaginable. Every day we live with the absence of someone we loved deeply, someone who had so much life ahead of him. His children will never know the father. His children have been robbed of their father's love. His mother will never see his son again, and us, his sisters, will never hear his voice, never see his smile, never share the sweet memories that should have been made, that we should have made over the past years. The grief that comes with this loss is something we will carry for the rest of our lives. But through the pain, I am not standing here today alone. I am standing here with all of you. I am standing here with the support of the trade union here in Edinburgh and beyond. From the beginning, you have stood by us. From the very beginning, when our lawyer, Anwar, took me to the very first meeting, you promised never to give up the fight for justice, and you have stood by my side ever since. For the marches, to the petitions, from the protests, to the heartfelt messages of solidarity, you have made it clear that you will not let Sheku's death be forgotten. But his story becomes part of a larger conversation about the need for change in our society. Your support has meant everything to us. When we felt lost, when we felt like we were fighting an uphill battle against an unjust system, you were there. When I didn't know where to turn, you gave me strength. You have been the voice that has echoed our call for justice. And because of you, the world has heard Sheku's name, and his story has become a rallying cry for all of us who are committed to fighting for fairer, more just society, and for that, my family and I are entirely grateful. I know my brother will not just be a statistic. He will not be just a case that will be forgotten about, because he was loved, he mattered, and that is why we will never stop fighting for him. Sheku has died, but his name will never die. To everyone here today, thank you for standing with us. Thank you for showing my family that we are not alone. Your support has given us the strength to keep going. And it is with you standing by my side that we will continue to fight until the truth is prevailed. We will keep going, not just for Sheku, but for all of us, for a better, more just, and more equal society. Thank you so much.